Atrial fibrillation is far more than just an irregular heartbeat. It is a cascade of electrical, mechanical, and hemodynamic changes that can impact every system in the body. To truly understand it, you must see it through the lens of a critical integrated map, where each component from pathophysiology to home care teaching is connected. The journey begins with the atria. In a healthy heart, the sinoatrial node fires a single, organized impulse that spreads uniformly across the atria, producing a coordinated contraction known as the atrial kick. This atrial kick is crucial because it contributes significantly to ventricular filling and overall cardiac output. In atrial fibrillation, however, this carefully orchestrated electrical rhythm collapses. Multiple abnormal impulses, most often originating near the pulmonary veins in the left atrium, fire rapidly and irregularly, overriding the SA node. The result is electrical chaos, with the atria quivering instead of contracting efficiently. The atrioventricular node attempts to filter these impulses, allowing some to pass in an irregular pattern which produces the hallmark irregularly irregular ventricular rhythm. The loss of atrial contraction immediately reduces cardiac output, explaining common patient symptoms such as fatigue, dizziness, shortness of breath, and exercise intolerance. This connection is key. Nurses should always remember the simple mnemonic no atrial kick equals low cardiac output. Complicating matters further, blood stagnates in the left atrial appendage, creating the perfect environment for thrombus formation. When these clots dislodge, they can travel to the brain, causing ischemic stroke, silent but deadly complication. This is why anticoagulation therapy is often prioritized, sometimes even over rhythm correction. The etiology of atrial fibrillation is multifactorial: hypertension, heart failure, valvular heart disease, myocardial infarction, hyperthyroidism, obesity, excessive alcohol use, aging, and even genetic predisposition can all contribute. Recognizing these risk factors helps healthcare providers anticipate complications and guide both treatment and patient education. Home care teaching is a critical component of the CIM. Patients must be educated on recognizing warning signs such as palpitations, dizziness, chest pain, and sudden weakness or numbness that may indicate a stroke. Medication adherence is non-negotiable. Anticoagulants and rate-controlled drugs must be taken consistently. And lifestyle modifications, reducing alcohol and caffeine, maintaining a heart-healthy diet, exercising regularly, and monitoring pulse and blood pressure at home can significantly improve outcomes. Nurses must reinforce these concepts during every encounter, using simple explanations that connect symptoms to pathophysiology. In nursing diagnosis, the most common priority is risk for decreased cardiac output related to ineffective atrial contraction and irregular ventricular response. Continuous monitoring of heart rate, rhythm, and perfusion is essential, as is assessing for early signs of hypotension, altered mental status, or reduced organ perfusion. Nurses also play a vital role in patient education, emotional support, and coordination with the healthcare team for timely interventions. Medical management of atrial fibrillation revolves around three key principles: rate control, rhythm control, and thromboembolism prevention. Rate control is achieved using beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, or digoxin. And the goal is to maintain a safe ventricular rate while preventing excessive tachycardia that could compromise cardiac output. Rhythm control may involve antiarrhythmic drugs or electrical cardioversion to restore sinus rhythm, especially in symptomatic or higher-risk patients. Anticoagulation using warfarin or direct oral anticoagulants such as apixaban or rivaroxaban reduces stroke risk, guided by risk scores like CHA2DS2-VASc. Surgical options reserved for refractory or structural cases include catheter ablation to isolate abnormal impulses, the maze procedure to create scar pathways, or pacemaker insertion if bradyarrhythmias develop. Non-pharmacological interventions complement these strategies. Lifestyle modification. Stress reduction, smoking cessation, and patient self-monitoring enhance treatment efficacy. Special situations require heightened awareness. In patients with heart failure, the loss of atrial kick can dramatically worsen ventricular filling and precipitate acute decompensation. Postoperative patients, especially after cardiac or thoracic surgery, are prone to atrial fibrillation due to inflammation and fluid shifts. Hyperthyroid patients may develop rapid atrial fibrillation because of increased sympathetic activity. In septic or critically ill patients, sympathetic overdrive reduces AV node filtering, leading to dangerously fast ventricular rates. Nurses must anticipate these situations, monitor more intensively, and escalate care promptly. A simple mnemonic to remember the CIM chain is trigger. Turbulence, thrombus, teaching. Triggers initiate abnormal impulses. Turbulence causes atrial quivering and irregular ventricular response. Thrombus formation increases stroke risk, and patient teaching ensures early detection and adherence. Finally, labs and diagnostics are integral to understanding the full picture. ECG shows absent P waves and irregularly irregular QRS complexes. Echocardiography evaluates atrial size, ventricular function, and valvular abnormalities. And blood tests such as thyroid function, electrolytes, and renal function identify contributing factors. Holter monitoring detects intermittent episodes, while chest X-ray can reveal cardiomegaly or pulmonary congestion. Every element from pathophysiology to history, diagnostics, and interventions is connected in the critical integrated map, providing a holistic framework for managing atrial fibrillation. Understanding this integrated approach transforms what seems like electrical chaos into a logical, predictable, and actionable plan for safe, effective patient care.